Oh, there. Well, I'm live. I'm alive. We're all alive. Welcome, everyone. My name's Dante. I am a pony educator and an old coworker of Karina's for many years. We met a long time ago. Karina's back there and she's going to pop out soon. I'm gonna. Here she comes. Yeah. I want to introduce Karina, who will be coming up soon. We're going to be doing a master razor class today. So our goal here is to cover a lot of ground on a tool that has a lot of girth to it, I guess you can say. You can do many great things with it. And you can do a lot of damage with it, and you can do a lot of great things with it. We're going to cover as much ground, as much aspects about that tool as we possibly can. We're going to demo it on two really great models that we have for you today. And not only are we going to be working on some really cool techniques that are applicable to the simplest of haircuts or the more complex of haircuts, we're going to be working on some really cool sectioning patterns and some cool approaches that you could take away and use your scissors or use other tools with as well. So hopefully we give you a really well-rounded class that you get techniques and you don't just get one-trick ponies here, because we're not a one-trick pony at Pony, right? So that being said, me and Karina got to talk to our models before you all came in, and we're really excited because they both have really great hair texture and they're both really open to doing some cool things. So I think there's going to be a lot of great takeaways here in the class. We'll go over some of the finer details of the tool before we start off. We got some slides and stuff that we're going to show you. And other than that, let's just have a little introduction of everybody here so we all get to know each other. Again, I'm Dante, and maybe we'll have Karina with the mic jump in and say hello to everybody.
Welcome to today. I'm really excited to be here with you guys. I have a lot of new faces hi Renee, that I haven't seen before, and we're going to have a great 2 days full of lots of information. I'm excited to work with Dante. Dante is one of my old friends. We worked together in New York City for years, and we've learned from some really great people, and we're excited to share with you guys. So I'd love to hear from everyone. Oh, and yes, my name's Karina Hernandez. Did I say that right? Karina Hernandez. We opened Pony Studios here in 2018 for classes like these. So welcome. I hope you enjoy. We're going to start with you. And will you tell us your name? Tell us what salon you're from, and also what you hope to get out of the next couple days, okay?
Hi, I'm Lily, and I'm from Citrus Salon in Martinez. And what I want to get out of today's class is just the basic techniques of razor cutting, because I've never taken a hands-on class of it.
Oh yeah, tell us how long you've been working with the razor as well. We want to hear that.
Yes.
I've just been doing feather razoring. I haven't done the straight razor, so I'm really excited today to learn a lot of new techniques.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Matt. I work at two salons. One's in Petaluma and one's in Berkeley. And so I've been cutting hair for about 20 years, but mainly with scissors. And I've taken a couple classes in New York at Bumble and Bumble, which was really great, but I get a little intimidated by the razor, and I always go back to scissors. So looking to get re-inspired. Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I live in Seattle. I'm in a salon called Arrow, and I've taken a razor class before. I took Jane Ito's class, but it was just a demo, so I'm really excited for the hands-on. I do use the razor, but I feel like I could be a lot more confident at doing the hands-on with this. Yes. That's it.
Yeah.
Great.
Hi, my name is Daniel Tolbert. I work at Public Barber Salon in San Francisco. I'm really excited for this class because I want to build the confidence with using just like the straight blade, because I'm pretty familiar with feather razor, but get a little scared without the guard.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to build confidence and learn techniques.
Hi, I'm Angie. I'm from Bellingham, Washington at Argyle Salon, and I'm just really excited to learn some new techniques with the straight razor. I've been using a feather razor for a long time, and just kind of dial in my skills with it.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm at Vetiver Salon in Palm Springs and been cutting with the razor for 2 to 3 years, but just ready to take a class and get free with it. I'm stuck in my ruts, I know what works and I'm scared to do things that don't work.
All right.
That's a good honest statement. Yep.
Yeah, we look forward to working on all those things.
Hi, my name is Amber. I'm from Napa, Sage Salon. I've been using a guarded razor for 20 years, straight razor for probably about, 5 to 7, something like that. I use my razor quite a bit, but what I tend to do is get to crown sections and put it down, pick up the scissors, because ergonomically I have a hard time working around the head. So I'm just looking forward to really dialing in so I'm not so prone to doing that. I feel more confident. I took the class here a month ago and that really helped. So I'm hoping this just kind of puts it right over the top for me.
Yeah.
And also to free up and be a little more creative.
Yes.
And knowing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Emily. I work in Livermore at the State Salon, and I also just started working in Boise, Idaho too, so kind of jumping back and forth. I've been cutting with the straight edge for about 8 years, and I'm really hoping to learn better hand styling techniques, and talking to my clients about just how to air dry their hair or diffuse their hair and get that more natural kind of bohemian look. So that's what I'm hoping to get today.
Great. I'm Kazia. I'm from Atlanta. I work at Acosta Salon, and I've been using the straight razor I've been using the feather razor for a few years and the straight razor for maybe 6 months or so. I've taken a couple of hands-on classes with local people in Atlanta, and they all recommended you guys, so I'm here.
Awesome. Good to hear.
Hi, I'm Renee. I work in San Ramon at the U Studio Salon, and I'm here, yes, we're meeting for the first time. I'm here to just build my confidence that I want my straight razor to be as easy for me as the feather razor.
Yeah. Cool.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I work at Jackson Place Salon in San Francisco. I've been using a straight razor for about 5 years or so, and I feel like I'm a little bit of everybody, or a lot of everybody. It's the same thing. Better positioning, better confidence with the razor. I tend to put it down, and I'm always really scared about using just doing the whole blade and the comb action together. I just feel like I'm always gonna slit my wrists.
It's not worth it.
And just better confidence with the razor, and I always feel like I end up going to my scissors or my feather razors for kind of as a added insurance, and I just want to have better confidence with the razor.
Yeah.
And better styling too. I feel like I try to do the natural, let's just air dry you and put some curl cream, and then they just leave a frizzy mess, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't look good.
Girl, $100?
I can relate to that. Hi, my name is Zoe. I'm from Los Angeles. I work at Salon Benjamin of West Hollywood. I don't have any experience with the razor, so I'm excited to be here. I've always had my eye on you guys, so it's, I just had to pounce on this
I've
opportunity.
had my eye on you guys too, so welcome.
No, your place.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, everyone. We have some selected models for you guys to work on today and tomorrow. We're really excited. They're great models. And, once we get to the hands-on portion, we'll go into what we're going to do at that point. And for now, we're going to get into hair. Are you guys ready? We're going to get into some slides.
Yeah.
And Dante's going to do the first cut, so I'm going to kind of walk off over here, and we're going to get started.
Yeah,
Cool.
should we talk a little about the tool and any of those things? at
Yes,
all?
let's start the slides.
Do some slides. I heard a lot of things from you guys that we will definitely be touching on, as far as positioning, having that freedom to to go all over the place with the razor. So welcome, introductions, razor overview. These are what we're going to be doing. This will be the outline for the day. So we just did the introductions. Right now we'll do the razor overview, touch upon a few of the things that you guys talked about, and just go over the actual details of the blade so that we can be on the same page while we're talking about things, and we all know what we mean by what the tip, the heel, flat, and edge are. So for some of you, you may have already been privy to this. For the rest of you guys, we'll just go over it one more time. The tip of the blade is exactly what it means. It's the tip of the blade. It's that front portion of the open part of the blade, the edge. We'll be using the tip of the blade when we're cutting from the center out to the right for you right-handers, and for you left-handers, it'll be the opposite. So that's something that you're going to be hearing from us, whether we're cutting upwards or we're cutting downwards, you know, which part of the blade using the tip. The heel is going to be the back side of it. That's going to be when we're cutting from the center to the left for the right-handers, opposite for the left. The flat of the blade is going to be just the surface of the edge right here that we sometimes use in certain applications. A lot of times when we're working on hairlines or shorter hair, you'll see that we use the edge. It removes the maximum amount of weight from the hair when we do so. And right there you can see how it's color coded, and it shows exactly those parts that we were just talking about. And then,
Also, can I just interject that we do have these razors available for purchase today, if anyone wants one.
This is a pony.
The ones you're seeing on
razor.
the slide.
That's a newer one. But this, I like this. It's black and white. It's kind of super old school. The pivot, the handle, those are all just the other parts, obviously. So a lot of you guys have already worked with the feather razor. So, you know, that's going to be more of a straight handle like this. What changes here, and what some people like kind of have a little bit of an introduction with the razor, which kind of throws them off, is the fact that when we use this razor, you know, it's bent at like a 90 degree. That allows us to use this part of the shank right here to rest our finger on, and this part of the shank right here, which usually has some grooves in it, gives you a nice little grip for your thumb. So that'll be a bit of a different way of, you know, working with this tool. We'll go over all the like little nuances, but by holding it like this, and when some of you guys were talking about like cutting up, or when you guys get to the crown, you guys tend to put it down. Well, I'll show you guys a few little like handling techniques that really help to give you some more flexibility when you're using this particular kind of a razor. Some of these things can be translated to the straight feather one as well, but I feel like you get a lot more freedom with this, and because the blade is fully open and you can use the heel, the tip, and the entire flat edge of the blade, you just have a lot more freedom, and you can get in there like Zorro and, you know, go. So.
Or Xena.
We want to bring that confidence to you today. So that's the introduction to the tool. As I'm going through the haircut, I will be very detailed and discuss all the little things that is making what I'm doing possible, and give you guys some of the tips that I've come across in the 20 years I've been using the tool, and the things I figured out that make my life a lot easier and give me more success with the tool. So that's my goal here today. These are a few of the different techniques that we will be showing with the razor. And I always like to say that the razor is a very like 3D cutting tool. So as opposed to like the scissors, where you get a much more linear, like, you know, kind of cut, shape, work with that. This, you can go into the hair, you could get weight removal. At the same time, you could be cutting length, you could be creating shape. And you could be doing all of that with, you know, just one or two strokes. Whereas I feel like there's a lot more steps with a scissor in order to get to the same places. So we'll be talking about all that. Tension plays a huge role on the success of how clean our lines are, how well the razor cuts through the hair. There's two different kinds of tension. There's the tension that the blade has on the hair. There's the tension that we have pulling it on the hair. We'll go over some of the things that make that possible and successful. Karina, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, there are, sometimes we cut with a razor and we feel like we have to go in afterwards and clean up our line with the scissor. And with really good tension, you can get a really clean line that needs no, you don't have to go back in and clean it up, especially if you're using a straight razor. A guarded razor, sometimes you get a little more of that, like a little fuzziness left behind. But the tension is going to be so important, and not only what Dante said is like pulling the hair from the head, but also the strength that you have between your fingers and holding the hair. One of the things that happened for me a lot when I was starting was trying to cut the upward stroke and always pushing the hair out of my fingers instead of cutting through it. So that's one thing I want you guys to really focus on when you're watching Dante is look at that tension he's using before he cuts.
And you know what? So kind of like when you're learning to cut with the scissors and you remember it's always like cut between your first two knuckles, don't cut past your second knuckle, because the tension usually gets looser towards the back of your fingers, right? So you end up not having quite as clean of a line. I mean, in a similar way, that's kind of like what Karina was saying with the razor. That tension that you're getting between your fingers needs to be consistent across the whole length of the hair that you're cutting. Because if there's a weaker spot and the razor's pushing that hair away a little, it's going to leave behind those soft little bits of hair that you're going to want to go in and clean up with your razor. So the tension is very important. Tension on the hair and tension that the razor has on the hair. Stroke is everything. Stroke will vary depending on what outcome you want. Stroke will vary depending on what kind of hair texture you're working on. We'll show some differences between a shorter stroke and a wider stroke. A lot of times some of that really soft, whimsical hair that you see from the razor is coming from the broader strokes. But when you want to really detail and add a little bit of strength to the hair, we'll shorten up our stroke. And we'll discuss how that all comes from the wrist and where that movement comes from. Oh, this is a great slide. I love that. Kind of the idea of going from a shorter stroke down to a wider stroke and how much variance you can get.
Can I come over here? Can we go back to that slide really quick? So think of these, this is like the line of the hair, right? This is point A and this is point B. Point B is your target length, okay? So like this is the ends. Sorry, I'm still on it. I'm obsessed with it.
There it is.
So this is the length of the hair. Point A is where you enter to travel down to the length of your hair. Does that make sense? It's almost like point cutting, right? But it's with the razor. So when you enter, you're going to enter further from your target length if you want more weight removal. And you're going to go really small if you want to create strength. And that's great on fine hair, or if you're trying to create a heavier bang or just a choppy bit. A smaller stroke. And then this is what, when you loosen up your stroke, that takes a little practice going from left to right because you're cutting with the tip this way and the heel this way. So sometimes it feels really different. And so you have to kind of get into that, that's when we talk about rhythm and consistency and those sorts of things. And that all comes with just time and practice.
And to take this to another place too, to just go one step further, which maybe we can touch upon when we get a little more into it tomorrow, is even mixing like a shorter and a longer stroke so you have a bit more of a heartbeat. And sometimes you'll see that if I want to get more variation in the line, as I'm going across my line, I go a little short and then I'll throw a big stroke in there, a little short.
Just throw it in there.
Just throw it in there, to add a little more of that whimsical wispiness. So these are things you can step out of the box with, once you get comfortable with the different strokes.
And I love that too, because we're just going deeper and deeper, and this is good. So also, by varying your stroke, it can be based on the hair that you're looking at. So let's say you're looking at your bangs and you're really fine out here. There's not a lot of hair here, but then you get really dense in the center. So you can start small and then go bigger towards the center to break that up, yeah? Just in one line. So it's a lot of thought that goes in behind your stroke, okay?
Three-dimensional hair cutting, that's why we
Yes.
say that. Yeah. It really gives you an opportunity to create something that's very unique for the individual and very suitable. So, you know, another thing that we always talk about at Pony too. So, yeah, razor versus scissor, I think I touched upon a few of those things. You know, I think, you know, I'm just partial to the razor. It's what I learned to cut hair on, like right out of beauty school. So, it's the first tool I tend to pick up. And again, it's because I feel like I can create more with it. And even if I do want to have a pretty structured, tight line haircut, I can do it with the razor and just, you know, shorten my stroke, or, you know, I don't have to feel like I need the scissors to create something that's really tight. But then I also have the ability to make it a little loose where I want to. So that's what I find.
Yeah,
is
I
a
think that's
great
what
difference.
takes, my very first razor class, I took my feather razor, and it was with Maria from Bumble. I don't know if you remember her, blonde, really cute. And I took my feather razor, and I always thought that my feather razor meant like I'm going to give a really funky haircut. You know, like when I take out my feather razor, that means we're going to get crazy, you know. And so I always used to think that. And then I went, and the first thing she said, okay, drop your first section. Now everybody, you know, cut a line. And I went to cut my line, and I just did like a crazy line, you know, because I was like, that's what we're doing, right? I had no idea. And then she came over and took my tool. She said, no, a line. And she went, and it was like a perfect, beautiful line. And I was like, oh. So it was just like eye-opening at that point, because what you're saying, you can cut clean and you can cut tight with the razor, and you can create a lot of structure. And then you can go in there and like jack it up too, on purpose.
I think it's important to be able to construct before you can deconstruct, and that was one of the first things that I was told, because very much like you know, I came in out of beauty school and I'm like watching all this crazy stuff happen on the floor, and the first Monday I get in the class, I'm like, let's slay the hair, like let's go at it. And it's like, no, you are not going to just
like, hold
slash
on.
hair. Like you need to be able to do this cleanly.
Control the tool.
And you can loosen up your control a little bit. So that was a lesson that took a few months for me to, you know.
And then the razor versus scissor too, like that was like the next thing on there. You just brought up a point, and now I'm like forgetting. I'll think of it. Shoot, I'll think of it. It was a good one.
Okay.
We'll come back to it.
All right. So, we have any more slides? Or we?
Razor versus scissor. Did you talk about that?
Yeah, I talked about that
You just
a
talked
little
about
bit.
that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I said some things about how, and how I can feel like I can do a lot more with the razor at one time, and get more of a three-dimensional approach to the hair.
Yes.
Whereas with the scissor, I have to go back and take more steps to get to the same place.
Right, okay. And I think what I was going to say is clients sometimes have like a fear of the razor, and they'll tell you they have a fear of the razor, and they'll say, you know, oh, I had a really bad razor cut. So I think what we're trying to say is you can control the tool and not let the tool control you, and create anything you want to create with this tool. And that's why we love it so much. So.
And the razor does get that like stigma about it, because you could do a lot of damage really quickly. And if you're using it in a way that doesn't promote integrity in the hair, then people are usually going to have a bad experience. But I always tell people, and it's like, it completely like shuts up the conversation. It's like, well, have you had a bad scissor cut? Like everyone's had a bad scissor cut, right? So it's like, okay then, it may not have been the tool.
Right.
It may have been the person using it.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's something I like to.
Do we have any questions so far from anyone? Anything that comes up? All right.
All right. Well, this is Liliana, our first model right here. Relax, sit back, enjoy. It's going to be fun. Liliana has great hair, beautiful hair. Her texture, quite ideal. I mean, it's strong, it's healthy. I'm not sure. We didn't talk about color or anything like that. I don't know if it's virgin hair or it's been colored, but.
I dyed it black like a year ago.
Okay. Well, you couldn't tell. It feels great. It feels like it has a lot of strength, a lot of integrity, and there's also like a pretty good bit of it. It's that hair that's quite heavy if you feel the ponytail, you know. So I know right there, then and there, that I'm going to have some freedom with my stroke. I'm going to be able to take some wider strokes and still keep a lot of integrity in the hair. And I may just need those wider strokes to create some of the softness that we want to create in the haircut. As far as our consultation was concerned, you know, I just checked in to see what the limitations were and what Liliana was thinking about. And really, she's quite open. And I then took the initiative to throw out there what was first on my mind, which was really what's happening in her fringe here, and the way that this frames her face so nicely, and she has this nice little just natural break in the center with the little Audrey Hepburn sort of curtain thing going. Well, if it was shorter, okay, but that's where I'm going with in my head, is something that's a little bit of that shorter, open, curtainy bang, and I'd like to build off of that in this haircut. So that being said, I was looking at ways that I could also break up the natural part that happens in her hair that, you know, comes all the way back to her crown. So I was thinking, once I get that bang section, maybe also breaking up a little layery center sort of mohawk within the bang itself to create some of those little center wisps that come down on the forehead. So I think those few things are going to really start me out and get that framing of the face going. The next thing, we did look at a few pictures that Liliana thought were great inspirational pictures for her. So it got me on the page as to where her head was at, as to how far she wants to go. And she really wants to have something that has a bit more of a whimsical, shaggy feel to it. So that being said, and knowing that she has so much hair, I thought, how can I go ahead and approach the face framing in a way that's going to create that soft, you know, whimsical flyaway kickback type of a look. So instead of taking her, and we'll go over this deeper as we go through the haircut, but we're going to use some elevation when we cut her face framing. And instead of cutting her face framing like in a traditional sense as to where it lies and just carve it out, I'm going to layer and cut the line at the same time and use a broad stroke, and we're going to use some elevation to create even more softness. And then of course with the blade we're going to get a lot of softness as well. And we're going to work our way back around the rest of the haircut. We're going to be using some concave style layering and some layering that's coming 90 degrees off of the head. And because we're using the razor, there's going to be a lot of different ways that we can shape those layers, and we'll get into that again as we move on. So it's not going to just be your traditional, let's lift it all up, cut it across the top, and create a shag. We're going to be a little bit more three-dimensional in the approach. And I think our sectioning patterns are going to be a little bit out of the box from what the norm is. And another characteristic, what we're going to do is we're going to approach the perimeter later on. So rather than that, let's start by cutting the length and setting it up where we want it to be. It's not the main focus of this haircut, the length. So we're going to adjust the length later on, and we're going to use the length that we have to be able to cut into all those layers and have a little bit more freedom, knowing that there's something left at the bottom that we can work with later on. All right?
Yeah,
So is that a good little overview of what we're going to do? I don't want to get into all the details right now, but that's what we're going to be getting into. And as far as product and preparation and everything is concerned, definitely I think the approach for cutting hair with the razor is, to approach it when the hair is wet, damp, well prepped with some kind of a cutting lotion so that there's a little bit of slippage on the hair and we get a nice smooth stroke and movement with the hair. So that being said, we're going to wet down Liliana and get started from there.
Sounds great. Liliana, you want to come with us? Oh, so hold on a second. We have a comment from Sarah in Galicia. Thanks for the training. I have no experience with the razor. How can I start practicing?
On your friends. So the way that I started practicing, I personally did not use mannequin heads to practice. I think you can. I think some natural hair wefts may be a good place to start. And the reason why I say that is because the mannequins tend to not really have a cuticle on the hair, and the way that the razor cuts through that overly processed hair is a little bit different than what you get on real hair. So being able to practice, even if it's just starting with like cutting the line at the bottom of a long layered haircut, is a really great place. And if you leave yourself a little room to go back in and clean it up with the scissor, I'm sure you could find a friend that's willing to do that. I think that's a great place to start.
Another great place to start is just to get comfortable with the blade itself, because the blade is scary, right? It's a little intimidating to have this. I actually like my handle really flimsy like this. Dante's is a little bit stronger, so that's really going to be up to you guys, how you like the feeling. This is a little scarier because sometimes you'll be holding it and it just opens up. But the reason I like it like this is because I want to ignore the handle. So the handle, I don't want it to be hard to move when I'm trying to get up or down or in or out, right? I want it to be very loose and almost invisible. So I want to focus on the metal part of the tool when I'm using this, when I'm using my razor. So for people who want to practice, a great thing to do is just to open it up, hold it, try strokes, try the upward stroke without a person, without a client. It's kind of like, remember when we had to do this, right?
Yeah, practice with your scissors.
So just kind of practicing holding your razor and doing your strokes without a person can be helpful as well.
And also practicing palming the razor and holding the razor. So that was some great points to be made. And again, we'll talk about it as we're getting cutting. But first thing, when people ask me, how do you approach holding the razor? Because a lot of times people are like, oh, like this. And I'm like, generally, if you just take your two fingers right onto the handle like that, and then you have your pointer finger and your thumb, that gives you a light grip. Not, you're not holding this for dear life. It's not like you're gonna fall off the cliff. A nice little light handle on that, so that you get this ability to let that razor move back and forth in your hand, so that when you do come to the upward stroke, you could let it sit back a little. When you do come back down to a downward stroke, you could choke up on it a little. So those are things you can be practicing. And then a lot of people always ask me, how do I comb with the razor? When you're starting out, or if you're not that comfortable, I'm just close it and comb the hair with it. That's totally acceptable, totally fine. As you get more comfortable, it's a little different than the scissors, but it's really simple. I take my pointer finger and I just put a little grip around, I put a little grip right around the shank like this. Gives me a nice tight hold on it. And then I have my other 3 fingers and my thumb to comb with. So that's how you palm the razor and comb the hair at the same time. But again, don't be shy to close it up if you want. Sometimes, especially when I'm going through some big sectioning, I close it up or put it down, take a break, and just work with my comb and get my sections together. Because working on clean sections and having like a clear path as to where you're going in the hair is going to be very, it's going to really help for you to be successful with the cut. Got that? We might need this for a little moisture control. You want to just give that a squeeze there.
There's your cape.
Yep.
There.
You put that on.
And then I'm just going to throw this on the towel. On the floor.
Okay.
What kind of haircuts are you guys doing mostly right now?
Lots of bobs.
Shags, lots of bobs. Cool. Shags. Bangs? Are people asking for bangs now? I remember when I first moved to the Bay Area, I did an event at a popular park in the city where I thought everyone was like hella cool. And I was like, free bangs! I thought it was funny, like free bangs. And I got like 2 people. And then as years have gone by, now there's like lines of people just coming for free bangs. But back then, nobody was wanting bangs.
It's funny, I did some hair cutting in the park in Washington Square Park in New York.
Was that with Christian or
No, this was before
that?
Christian did it. This was with a friend of mine, James, who
James Petches.
No. James Hickey. He's from Buffalo, and he came down, and he had worked at Bumble for a little while, and then he came down to visit, and I said, let's go, grab some capes and go over to the park and do some hair. So we get to Washington Square Park, and he was like totally nervous to like just approach people and be like, hey, let me cut your hair.
Yeah.
And we get there on a Saturday afternoon, and I kid you not, there was a fully nude body painting like gig going on in the park, okay? So there was buck naked people walking around outside in Washington. And I'm like, dude, if you're worried about asking people to cut their hair and they're taking their clothes, I said, don't worry about it. So we went around, we started approaching people, and it took a few people, a few people run away from me or whatever. But as soon as we broke the ice and one person sat down and got their hair cut, the crowd started coming around. Oh, what's going on here? Hey, free haircut. Oh, people were in line. Like, so next thing you know, hair's flying, and naked bodies are roaming. And it was definitely an interesting experience. I did not, I was a little apprehensive to approach naked people and ask them about cutting their hair. I didn't want to. All right. So a lot of, you hear a lot of my classes or whenever I talk about starting a haircut, I always like to start a haircut where I think the biggest impact is going to be made. So again, not always the length, right? Because sometimes it's just a trim on the length. So a lot of times it may be if they're getting new bangs or if it's going to be some crazy short layers. I'd rather start in those places and let that set the pace for the rest of the haircut. So that being said, we did talk about that fringe. I think that was what was most inspiring for me here with this haircut. And we're going to start there, and we're going to kind of set everything off from around there, right? So that in itself could be a great way of just breathing new life into your work, is just starting in a different place, With the bang section, the fringe section, I always like to let the person's head shape dictate that for me. We can usually find where they're going to get that break in that high recession. So it sort of just always seems to fall right out for me. Try not to overthink these things. And then comb everything else back and away. So we're always working on clean sections. If I'll like say that a million times, especially when you're trying to get comfortable with the tool. Clean sections are like key to helping you remain in control. So that's roughly my bang section. I'm going to do a little cleanup on aisle 7 right here. Just because I'm anal like that. Splitting hairs. All right.
There's lots of little tricks and tips out there on how to find someone's bang section. Do you want to share anything that helped you along the way, Dante?
Yes, triangular sections, that's the first thing. I always remember one of my mentors saying, how do you say it? Like a frown, like rounded section made for sad bangs. So,
Wait, what, a round section makes what?
like, so.
Sad bangs?
Yeah, like a frown section, like one of these type things.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like made for sad bangs.
I like that. I've never heard that one.
Yeah, that was Raymond. So that being said, the other reason and what I always, because I like to give some more concrete like reasonings as to why I'm doing something. I like to really be, you know, I think as an educator, one of the things that really is a pet peeve of mine is when people are just doing things and they don't know why they're doing them. The reason why triangular sections work so well is because you can cover a sphere completely with triangles. So triangles are very complementary to the head shape. So
We have a question really quick. Sorry, Raul from Girona says, very grateful for this course. I would like to know if I can use the razor for any cut.
My answer to that in short is yes, I think you can, because depending on what you want the outcome to be, I don't think that there's any rules in hairdressing. So, you know, and the story that I give to that is there was a client who had double processed cotton ball hair, and it would be the last thing you would want to approach with a razor. And though, you know, she was being cut with somebody that was very, you know, skilled with the razor, the fact of the matter was she wanted more cotton ball hair. So
she's like, I'm into it.
So it was the right thing to do, and it was the right tool to use. So yes, I think you can approach any, you know, I don't think there's any rules as to
I mean,
when
unless
when
it's
or when
obviously like clearly a like
Yeah, if you
then
want to.
you can't do that with a razor. You know what I mean by
Yeah, if you want to beat out Sassoon Bob, like, and it needs a pair of scissors, then for sure, of course.
Yes, but you can do any haircut with a razor.
I'm taking it more as like any hair texture. Like, can you cut any hair texture, any body's hair? Sure, as long as that's what you want the outcome to be, I think so. You could use it on different ethnicities and, you know, all different hair types. So, yeah, that's my answer. All right, back to the bang section here. So I'm going to break down my bang section since it's a little too much hair for me to really get the texture I want. If you are, even though the razor can go through a lot of hair really quickly, in order to keep some really like cleaner, sharper textures, you got to be working on, you know, what is suitable for that density of hair. And in this case, I think probably about 2 sections on the fringe are going to get me to where I want to be. Now, because we want to work with that natural parting in Liliana's hair and create that opening there, I'm just going to find that natural break that was there. And whether that's like the dead center or not, that's the center on her hair, and that's where I want to work out of. So let's do it. Give it a little pump. We're not pumping. All right. So, all right, let's talk about a few of the things that we're going to want to think about here. Coming from the center to my left, I'm a righty. I'll be using the heel of my blade. And as far as stroke is concerned, the stroke that I'm going to use, since I want this haircut to be fairly whimsical and soft, and I want to take some of that heaviness out of her hair, I'm going to use somewhere from a medium to a broad stroke. Because it's the bangs, if I go too broad, some of those short pieces might get a little too close to the hairline, and thus I might get a little of that pop. So I don't want that to happen, but I still do want there to be quite a bit of texture. As far as where I'm going to come in and come out at, I'm going to cut in like an A shape. So I'm going to come in a little bit higher. I'm going to come in up just above the eyebrow, I think I'm going to start. And I'm going to come out, and I'm going to come out like probably down more towards the corner of her eye to the cheekbone, so that I get that really exaggerated curtain opening. Now, if you could see, she gets a little bit more of these skinny hairs over here. So that's something I'll think about as I'm coming to the end here. Maybe like Karina was saying, come in a little bit broader and come out a little bit shorter, right? Because I notice the difference in the density. Make sure that everybody can see this. Come over here. Which way am I going to get this on camera good? That my hand's not in the way. Yeah, the bangs are great for the top view. That would be perfect. Great. Thank you. So, one of the other things too when you get started here is I like to get the motor running before you hit the hair. This is a good way to start practicing that motion coming from your wrist, you know, so you're not hammering the hair. So we'll start with getting the motor running. Get the motor running. Head out on the highway. I think I could come in a little bit shorter on that. Get those few little guys over there. Because these are only a couple little hairs, I'm going to wait for the next section to bring them in. But as you can see, definitely got that nice arch. Now I'm using the tip on this side, right? See that? So right where I'm going in, it's gonna be a tip of the blade. I'm also right between my two knuckles here. So I'm not holding the hair all the way up. So I'm getting an even tension. If you see the tension, that was what Karina was talking about earlier on. A little elevation for extra softness. Thanks. Well, another thing, you know what to say about that is, if you notice, I mean, this wasn't a whole lot of hair, right? Like, this is a fairly small section of hair. And I don't know how many strokes that just was, but it wasn't hot knife through butter. I mean, the more strokes, the more texture. So when you look at this here, you know, and you see all that softness, if I went through that in 3 swipes, it would just look like a shark's tooth, or like a point cut. Like it just wouldn't have the same softness. So I always definitely, that's something to be practicing, is like, even if it's on a weft, like see how many strokes you can take before you go through the hair. Let's break this down into one more section.
It looks like are you going into it with a little more of the flat of the blade versus I tend to come in with the blade pointing, but is it just, maybe it's the angle I'm sitting?
Are you, how's it look from the overhead? Because I couldn't see, but no, I'm definitely staying on the edge right here. This is a place where I want to stay on the edge. Because if I was coming in on the flat here, what I would probably be getting is like this frayed top to the hair, which I don't want. That's something you may be doing in the hairline or to set in some hair, or if we were doing some kind of like really like hairline micro bang, that could be something, but not in this situation. So because of where I'm standing, and normally in the salon I would probably be more in front of her, I'm giving a little slight twist to my finger here, so that way I can get on the edge. So good observation. Whoa, I shut that off.
Are you cutting to your guide or past it, or?
I'm cutting, I'm letting it fall out underneath, so I'm cutting just right past it usually. I'm not cutting into it, but yeah, that's definitely something that we always talk about, is when you're cutting with the razor, like we always like just drop a little past our previous section, so that way we don't continuously cut into the underneath sections.
We have a question from Madrid. Lucia wants to know if she should put any product in the hair before cutting it with a razor. Thank you for this fantastic course.
Any tonic, or is that? So, any product. So this here, which I started out when she came back, is a cutting lotion. It's like a prep lotion. It has a little bit of a lower pH, so it softens the hair a little bit, makes the hair a bit more combable, and definitely helps the razor slide. So I'm just bouncing between that and some water. So yes, I do suggest that you use, you know, your favorite cutting lotion or detangling spray. Even if you just prep the hair before you start the cut, at least there's something in there. It definitely helps. Because when you cut with just water, you'll see that you get a little bit more grip. The razor grips the hair a little bit more, and sometimes can sacrifice that softer texture that you're looking for.
If you wanted a heavier bang, you need to use less elevation.
See here, I'm getting on a shorter stroke on those little guys.
So I'm going to have him repeat the question.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
If you wanted a heavier bang, would you use less elevation when cutting?
Yeah, that's one thing, a shorter stroke or less elevation. I need a little elevation here so that I don't slice her face open. Which is, obviously another difference between using a scissor and a razor. Can't be too close to their skin. So in order to create a little bit more heaviness in this situation, yeah, I could lower it slightly, but I'm limited to how far down I can go. I would shorten my stroke.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing too that, I always have fun with is sometimes coming in with the scissor afterwards and putting a little bit of a heavier texture in the line so I get a little bit of the best of both worlds. That's always something fun. I do that with bobs a lot, to be honest.
I do that a lot too. You could take off the minimal, and it changes a little
Changes
without
everything.
getting rid of all that razor goodness in there.
That's right.
What is the over direction of this technique?
The over direction? So somebody taught me or made a great point to me when I was younger about cutting bangs. Like if you're cutting an arched bang, there's two ways you can go about it. You can use over direction to create that arch and create the shape that the over direction creates, or are you one of the people that just cuts the shape into the hair and
I like
creates your
both.
own arch?
I like to mix it up and use
Yeah.
over direction sometimes, and then sometimes just eyeball it. It's like you draw a line in your mind's eye of what you want to see, and you just follow it.
So I'm using some over direction here, but because I'm going short to long, I'm also creating a little additional shape. So it's getting drawn out a little bit more. Now with the razor in general, if you were to cut a straight line, it generally is shorter to longer. That's just like the ergonomics, the physics of the razor. So always think about wherever you're going in at, if you're cutting a line, it's probably going to have a slight arch to it anyway. So that gets exaggerated with the over direction on the bangs. Which is why, you get a really kind of steeper angle there with the bangs.
Mm-hmm. that your razor looks like it's on the flat. Jace is saying this.
We just discussed that.
And that just came through. Jace, we want to respond to that. It does sort of look like that, but he is on the edge of the blade.
Yes, and I in order, because of my body position, so I can present here, I had to turn my fingers out a little bit
Yes.
to keep the edge on the hair. If
Yes.
I was standing in front of her in the salon environment,
Yeah.
it would be a lot easier to show
Yes. Thank you, Jace, for pointing that out. We have Amber who says, would you do the same technique if you were doing a longer curtain bang?
that. Yes. Yeah, for sure. The length could be
Just start
varying
long-
depending.
just start
You
longer.
could do it even shorter like this and do the same technique, you know, for sure. So my next section is going to be, I'm going to come right down to the front of the ear here. It's going to be kind of like your, let's see where we got that. I'll turn and show you this. Yeah, why don't we do it like that? So this section is going to be right there. It's going to be from the center hairline straight down to the front of the ear. Kind of your typical face framing section that you would start with. But the difference that we're going to do here is we are going to cut this up in the air. Now, with the razor, because, you know, we're only cutting one way, I'm going to be cutting away from my body. On this side of the head, I will be standing more towards the front of Liliana, and when I get to the other side, I'll be standing towards the back. So those are some things that you got to think about. Let's so that way you can see really the blade going straight across the section here. I think this will be the best way to show it.
So is that going to be your body position for always cutting on the right and then always cutting on the left?
My body, so I would, if I was going to continue these sections all the way around up until the back center, I would probably be standing more in front of her to some respect, and cutting from the center here out. Now when I get on the other side, I would be more facing in her direction and cutting the same way. So we're going to, I'm going to take this hair about 45 degrees off of the head shape here. Where I go in at my shortest length, I'm going to do similar like with the bangs. I'm going to go short to long, and I'm going to pick my shortest length to where I want that face framing to start, right? So I'm just going to drop it down. I'm going to give myself a little eyeball as to like where I want that shortest length to be. And again, I'm going to get the motor running.
Nice large stroke. And
Yes,
remember
that's a pretty broad stroke, I think.
I just wanted to point out, a lot of these things that we teach you are guidelines. We don't like to say always or never. They're just guidelines. So cutting away from you in an upward stroke, away from your body, is the guideline. Can you cut this way?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Sure. But you want to make sure that you are still doing intentionally what you're trying to do. And, you know, like you're still cutting on the edge, you're still, the elevation's the same, the angle's the same, all of those things.
So I could cut this way right here too. To do this, if she was a bit lower or like, you know, say it was a kid, it was a little smaller, like that would maybe make more sense. But because of the height that she's at, I'm getting much more movement with my arm, and I'm not getting my elbow locked up. See how like I'm a little jammed up here if I was going like this? Now if it was down here and I was doing it, I got much, you know, my arm, and I got a lot more movement. But being up here, I'm a little jammed up. But it is a possibility. So finding your comfort zone and what works for you is really key. In this situation, I'm going in a more traditional manner. But yeah, actually, it's funny that you said that, because didn't I say when we were talking about it, I said, well, maybe I'll cut it, you know, coming this way. But it just seemed like it was too jammed up, you know. I'd have to be like this, and I don't get a good angle on it.
Yeah, it just has to be your comfort. You know, what are you comfortable with?
Let me go a little more aggressive is what I want to do.
Do it. Oh yeah, look at that.
So I'm getting that shorter to longer like face frame, but it's super soft and whimsical. And it's going to probably, with her straight hair, kick out a little, like the whole wolf cut thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we chose to go that route. Now I'm going to do the other side here, because for the next section we're going to adjust our approach a little bit. So I'm going to work from one side to the other, and we're going to work all the way around to our center back, all at the same time, layering, shaping, and creating the whole haircut in one motion around the head. You know what else I like too with the scissor and having that three-dimensional approach to the hair, or with the razor, is that like you can kind of cut steps out of your haircut. Like you can cut the layers and the length like all together and create the texture and everything without like going in and putting the perimeter in and then going in and setting the layers and then going back and retexturizing it. It's like, why don't I just do it all at once? I got the hair in my hand now. Let's do it all at once. So I could take a little bit of a guide from my last section, should I choose to do, just for a little reference point.
I do want to mention another thing about cutting on the edge versus flat. The edge is anything that is not flat. So it doesn't have to be 45 degrees exactly, for those of us hair nerds out there. You know, anything where the blade is angled into the hair slightly is the edge of the blade. Check your screen, Dante. You can check your balance on your screen, since we don't have mirrors.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like the balance is good. I just want it to look good for all you guys too. I mean, it's super whimsical, so we're going to have to like go on for a couple more sections, really see the shape take form. But our next section, again, we're going to be working off of the center hairline, and I'm going to come back now to the back hairline. This section will be like something of what we maybe can call a transition section, because I'm going to adjust the type of like how I'm going to approach the layers in the back. This section is going to mix what I just did in the front to what I'm about to do in the back, and this will connect our front to our back and still, again, give us like a maximum amount of layering and softness. I'm going to follow this shape, follow this section around the head shape. So what I'm going to do is I want to take what I can handle. Important. I don't want to take too much. Take what I can handle. And comb it again off of that 45 degree. Now I could take a little reference. This would be, I guess, what like in beauty school they would say like is a pivot point technique, using a little guide from your previous. I don't necessarily get too hyped up on like measuring that perfectly. I think it's more important that it's a reference point for you and that you are, you know, going by a little bit of feel, and that the haircut has some more feel to it and personality than being so mechanical. So just knowing around about where I want to go. And again, this will be a broad stroke. Oh, and another thing, as I'm cutting up like this, you see where my comb is? My comb is giving me a lot. I'm not keeping my comb here and getting in my way. So that's an important little tidbit right there.
Is the top of your section width the same as the bottom of this section? Can you repeat your question?
Yeah.
Is the top of the width of the section the same as the width as the bottom?
Yeah, it's relatively a 1-inch wide section. It's just following the head shape on a radial curve so that I can follow that hairline in the back here, thus being the transition piece.
Is that working all the way to your link?
What's that?
Is that working all the way to your link?
Yeah, so yes. So
I think he split it in half.
I just split it in half, but I combed, you know what, it's my fault. I should have shown you that section. I'll show it to you on the other side next. But this will be the second half of that.
So now he's going into his length.
So yeah, it's the same section, I just subsectioned it. So if you can see right
Dante,
here.
if you could repeat the question too, that would be great for everyone. Can you do that?
Yeah, so we want to know if...
No, for going forward, going forward. And also if you raise your hand, we can get you on the mic. So either way would be great for everyone.
All right, so can you guys all see this? You guys will get a better view on the next one.
So there's the length at the tip of his fingers.
And see how I'm moving down with the section so that I'm coming now, like by the time I cut that last piece, I was about 90 degrees off of the head shape. Now that's what I'll be doing for the rest of the back, is 90 degrees off. That's why that's my transition, see? I started where I did on the first section, I ended where I am on what's going to be the section that's marrying it to the back side. Keeps my perimeter softer. It creates a connection between what I did in the face framing to what I'll be doing in the back. And again, I'm nailing the texture, the length, the shape, the layers.
Nailing it.
All in one move, you know? So like, if I do, like obviously I can go back after and I could touch some things up and add a little detail. But for the most part, I mean, the meat and potatoes of the haircut is going to be there. And I hope to be happy with it by the time I'm done.
You will be.
Although that's such
Liliana,
a tall order.
we will be.
Such a tall order to be happy with your haircut. How many haircuts are you guys happy with, like, a week? You know, we're such our hardest critics, right?
So true. So true. Like you take pictures of it and you're like, I thought it looked different than these pictures.
Oh God, I am the worst with the pictures. I'm the worst with my pictures. It's like I need a
Dante.
This right here, I just want to show you guys. This is what we created so far. So you could see sort of right there in the perimeter where it's connecting. You see all the light, soft layers that are coming in. So it's going to be kind of a bit of a rounded shag haircut. Now, we're going to go on this side here so you guys can see that section a little bit better.
All right.
Right?
Question.
Sorry, I'm not pulling it. Yes?
Question.
Are you working in triangles around the head still for the second?
No, I'm just working, radial. I always call it radial sections. So the question is, am I working on triangular sections around the head shape? I'm working on radial sections around the head, and I'm working right off the center parting, and that's my pivot. So This will be the same thing that I just did on the other side, and I will be following that right around. Again, I got a little reference point. I was losing the tension in my fingers, so I have to recomb, regroup, restart. That way I keep a nice clean razor line.
And you kind of memorize, like, how much did you cut off the other side of the length, you know? And then when you get to your fingertips, you know how much you're going to cut off.
Yeah,
From memory.
It has to become that sort of feeling.
It's like with razor cutting, one of the things that you never stop thinking about is your balance, because you don't have the guides like you do with scissors.
So what is left right now is the back section. So now what we're going to do and approach that is I'm going to basically pull everything 90 degrees off the head, and I'm going to use the razor to come in and go short to long, and it's going to really just like feather out the perimeter, create, you know, all the more layers in there. And this is a great, just a great way to showcase how the razor, you know, is such a versatile tool to use for layering and for getting through a lot of hair and making your life a lot easier. There was a woman who I assisted very early on in my career who used to layer like this, and it was just like, I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. Like, it's so easy. You're just like pulling the hair off, and you're going in where you want to start the layers, and you're coming out where you want to end the layers. There was none of this like, oh,
I love
hold
that.
it here, and where is it going, and what am, you know.
Like keeping it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple, stupid, right?
Kiss.
All right. So I'll start with the center section. I'll work my way out to each side. And I'm going to, again, I'm only going to be able to hold what I can hold. So this is quite a large section to hold. I will split it in half. You can keep your chin forward. Now, again, I could start with a reference right to where that's going to, where that.
Love it. This haircut's gonna look so cute with her Doc Martens.
Now, you see where our perimeter starts to fall out. And I got just a little tad into that just to create a little softness there, but cool.
And what's cool about the razor too when you're doing square layers is you don't have to contend with that big, heavy, like, top part. You know what I'm talking about? When you do it with the scissor, when you're taking something straight out, you sometimes end up with that big, heavy 90s layer.
Section, I'm going to leave that section out. I don't need to hold on to all that hair. I already cut it, and my guides are coming from up here anyway. So if there's a little variation, that's cool anyway, but I'm going to split that in half. And in order to get a better grip, I'm going to underhand this like this so that I don't get anything loose.
Are you wanting it to be a stronger perimeter so your elevation is not as high as it was in the face frame area? You just wanted to take it straight off from the head?
Yeah, straight off from the head, so I'm creating like a concave layer. Actually, that's what we were talking. I don't use the word concave and convex a lot because it seems too like heady for me. But I think technically this is what's called a concave layer.
And when you're cutting all the way down to your length, you're not creating a stronger perimeter.
Yeah, no.
Right? It's actually the opposite.
I'm only letting that last bit drop out, so everything that's sitting over top is getting kind of layered. So if you can see right here, down here, it's like, it's fairly soft and fairly pointy. Like my layers go all the way through to the end. Now, if I was pulling this all up and cutting it across, I'd drop out too much of my bottom and I wouldn't get that same kind of movement at the bottom. So pulling it out this way is giving me the opportunity to just carve into it even more.
Yes, and if you do elevate it, you do get the strong perimeter. So if he's elevating that, because a lot of that stuff drops out and doesn't get cut, your perimeter ends up being stronger.
Yep, now that's right from that earlier transitional section. I only got a little bit left to do on this side. Again, a little reference point.
Are you doing like C shape, or are you going kind of like straight back and forth, or are you kind of doing like, are you carving kind of like C's?
I'm going short to long. No, I'm not going like that. It's just like this. So
That's a good question. It kind
Yeah.
of looks like maybe there might be a little of that, but it's just a stroke.
yeah, so the question is like, is there a scooping action happening, I would say, right? Is that, or no, it's really just letting the blade do the work. And literally, the weight of the blade and you just moving it could be enough to cut through it all. So you don't have to push on it. So we got 2 more sections to do.
The tension is what's helping him too.
Ooh,
So you get that
yeah, I
tension,
like
you can
that.
cut really easily.
It's so hard to look in there because everything I do is the opposite direction. And I'm like,
You're like, I didn't want my finger to go there.
all right, so now on this side, you guys will get a little bit better look over here as to what the sections are. This right here is the parting from what I did in the center, right? So what I did on that side is I did 1, 2. So I did a center and then 2. That's it. Like, I don't know, there's just not a lot of sections in this haircut. And if you were doing this in the salon and you weren't sitting here talking about it, you'd probably be done this pretty quickly. I tend to talk a lot, and next thing I know, I'm getting booed off stage.
You were done 10 minutes ago.
I over-explain.
You have some splaining to do.
So maybe you could see that the razor motion. I go a little fast with the razor. I'll try to slow that down for you.
Yeah, that's definitely a Dante thing. It's all about style.
Speedy Gonzalez. Let's see.
Jetsabel. Hi, Jetsabel. She says her profile looks beautiful. Yes, it does.
Oh, thank you, Jezebel.
Jet watches every single class. Always there. Thank you, Jet.
So kind of right to that perimeter, you see? That last bit that just fell out really helps me to create that.
He doesn't change his rhythm. You see that? He doesn't get, want to take that end off real quick. Yeah, sometimes people are like, I just cut off. And he's just like, nope, keep doing my stroke all the way down to the end.
Yeah, it's what keeps it clean and keeps it soft. That's
the
why I say,
ends
like,
consistent.
I always like that commercial, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center? I feel like
That's
I
an
always
old
like
commercial.
To do that.
That's an old ass commercial, Dante.
It is old. I'm old as shit. Well, disclaimer, I was like 3 when I was watching it. But I have a good
How
memory.
many licks does it take till you get?
So this is that last little pie, radial, like, I don't know what you want to call it. It's a little, section there. It's sort of the marriage here. But no, that like, you can almost play that game with yourself. Like, how many strokes can I do? Like, can I just keep going? How many times can I cut this one strand of hair until it actually goes through the hair?
Yeah,
it's
that's
a great
why you need that
exercise.
strong tension between your fingers, because it keeps the hair in place while you do all those millions of strokes.
It's a great exercise. It's like, and you see that the motion's coming from my wrist and not my arm. I'm not sawing a tree down here. like it's more like I'm painting the tree. If
All
you
the
paint
strength
trees.
is in your left hand. And your
I'm barely
right hand
holding
is
this.
soft.
If you walked up and you like hit the razor, it would come right out of my hand. Like I'm barely holding it. So I'm not hammering at the hair. That's like super key right there. This is a tool of like softness and finesse. It's not, this isn't an axe. This isn't a hammer. This is something that's, you're really trying to finesse with.
It's dainty.
It is. You want to be a little more Bob Ross, and a little less Paul Bunyan.
Like
Make
Nancy
pretty
Kerrigan.
trees.
A little Nancy Kerrigan through the hair. Tanya Harding.
Yeah. Be Nancy, not Tanya.
Oh my God, it looks so good.
So the one last thing I want to check here is just, there may be a few pieces that got away or
The holidays.
were in the center.
Gonna get all the
Yeah.
holidays.
And plus, I also do, like we had talked about earlier, me and Karina was, I think the last move here is to come right down the center and to just lift this all up and make sure that like the things that I did in my fringe and what I did in my face framing and all, where they all connect down the center strip here on the hair, I'm gonna lift that all up. And I'm just gonna go a little short to long, just kind of follow that line. Take off any. So that way, if her hair pushes forward, pushes backwards, like, there's a coherent, like, love to it all. I mean, and this is something like super doable in the salon.
You can change the lengths.
Change the
You can
length.
change the stroke.
Yeah. You can go in and give it a hard bang, keep the softness here, do, a stronger perimeter, but really shaggy on the interior, or do a traditional face frame and then use that technique for your layers around the back.
As far as styling, what do you think?
I think that we need like a bit of a wave spray or something to bring out some more of the softness and stuff in her hair. I mean, not softness,
There's
like,
one right there,
like,
it's called Mar.
like bendiness in the hair. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm just gonna, this is something I like to do sometimes with the scissors, is come in and put a few blunter bits or pieces. Just almost like, I call them the choggy bits.
The what bits?
The choggy bits.
Choggy?
I don't know, I made it up. It's like, it just
They're
sounds
so
like,
choggy. I like.
like when people, I think we all have something that we do that's sort of our signature. When I was younger, one of the things I used to do with all my long haircuts, after I did the whole shape, I'd come in on a small, like skinny section over the top, and I just disconnect like a shorter, like
For a
bit
little
through the
alfalfa
middle
sprout?
and give it like an extra pop, and that was sort of my thing. I knew this girl who would do bobs and leave a little long piece in the corner. That was her thing, so.
Let's
I like
see what
to
the
find
back
that
looks like.
stuff.
Can you turn her around?
Yeah, and let's put a little of the Mar in there, and let's, I feel like this is the kind of haircut that I want to just keep running my hands through till it's dry. I
Yeah.
don't think that a blow dryer, so we were talking about hand style and all, like you don't necessarily always have to send people out with bone dry hair. Sometimes,
So someone's asking if the perimeter was touched. It hasn't been really touched as far as like at natural fall. It's all been kind of layered and, but nothing at natural fall.
the perimeter has only been touched via layering. Yeah. So I'd say the texture of the perimeter was adjusted, whereas the length wasn't so much.
Yeah.
Except in the front here, like some of the length came off, because she had a very boxy perimeter in the front, so her perimeter in the front was rounded out, but the perimeter in the back was just lightened up.
I feel like you gave her the haircut that I wanted to do on my model. damn.
You're gonna have
I
a
have to
whole
come up with
other
something
approach
new.
to it.
Totally. No, I love it. It looks so, she looks like she's about to go on stage, like sing.
Yeah, so maybe what we'll do is
Let it air dry.
Let it air dry a little bit.
All right, let's
with
play
it,
her
and we can
before
show you
video.
guys
Steve, let's play her
how
before
it
video.
evolves. 'Cause I think
Will
we're.
you have her stand up, please, and take the cape off? This is slow-mo. Someone did that. I didn't do that. Cool. Love the slow-mo touch. 10 minutes later, she'll turn around. And bam, before and after. It's not dry yet, but we will show you guys. We will bring our model back out to show you guys the finished look. And I'm going to get started on my next model.
Let's go. Oh, see, I love, like, to me, it's like all about right here. Look at the camera. Like these.
And you know what's cool about the shags? I feel like sometimes a popular haircut can start to look like the Rachel, you know, where you're just plopping that haircut on every single client and everyone look, and then you're styling it the same and everything. This is like, let her hair fall where it falls, let it be what it is, let the cut perform on its own, and it makes it unique and it makes it different and it makes it hers. So this haircut is called the Liliana.
Yeah. Thanks for being a player.
Hi, can you hear me? Cool, we're back. Hope you guys enjoyed that haircut. We're gonna see it totally dry when it's kind of more air dried. One of the ways to focus on air drying is to not take away the goodness of what the hair is naturally doing. So whatever you see that looks good, leave it. Pay attention, right? And then you're not fixing something that's not broken. So I think key is to not over wet the hair while you're cutting it. don't use water. Instead, switch to like a leave-in or switch to something else that allows the hair to start to dry by the time you're done cutting it, but still able to cut. Someone was asking earlier, what product do you use to cut the hair? I start with water and then I switch to something else like a leave-in. Okay, so let's move on. You guys ready for another cut? All right. So this is my model Kat. When I met Kat, she didn't have these pieces. These pieces were put in by our friend Aura, who does color in New York. And then they were also turquoise, so it's really cool, and now they're kind of faded out. We also gave Kat some bangs. There were no bangs when I met Kat. It was a strong middle part, long hair, and we gave these bangs to Kat not too long ago, and she's been loving them and kind of has been upkeeping them herself. So the change is going to be, actually, as I started to see Dante's cut come together, I was like, that's kind of what I was picturing, but just something a little bit different. And also really short bangs, like really short, chewy bangs. She's open to it. She's down. And also, Kat's one of those people who's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, I'm open. Like, just do it. So that's going to be fun. We were talking about the approach. So what I want to see is just some like little short, a lot more choppy bangs in here. Something that just gets a little bit shorter in the center, but she can just shake it out and it's like got a lot of little pointy bits to it. So we're going to change her from this heavy bang to something completely different. The bangs that I originally cut for her, I left out some side bits. I made them a little more narrow because I really love a little short bang with like some long pieces that just fall over it. So, but what we're going to do with these pieces is we're just going to sort of create like a little hug around the cheekbones. And they're just going to kind of cup those cheekbones really beautifully. With these pieces here, lots of layers. Length is going to come up to right around here. So we're going to bring this up, get rid of some of those ends. And my approach was going to be frame, 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 right? I'm going to do all my framing bits and lovely pieces. Kind of inspired by my daughter Lulu, who's 3, and she cut her own hair. And she came in, she's 3, she says, Mama, do you like my new look? And I was like, new look? Like, she must just listen to me talk all the time. Like, I call everything my look. Like, you like my hiking look? Or whatever, I'm wearing for that day. So she's like, you like my new look? And of course I was, she's my baby, she cut all her hair. And the way she did it is she just kind of like went forward and grabbed the scissors and started cutting everything. And then I looked at it and I was like, that's brilliant. It looks so good. And so anyway, I was talking to Kat about that. She's like, I remember that. So what I thought I would do, I kind of want to keep this crown separate from everything I'm going to do. Kat has really dense hair, but it's so straight and so silky and, just like looks small, but it's dense. There's a lot of hair there. So I'm going to separate out the crown, and then I'm just going to create layers in here. And then when I get to the crown, I'm going to open that up so that we have some pieces that kind of fall over the shorter layers. But the overall look is going to be shaggy, yes, with some fun bangs. So again, just sort of like thinking of a different way to approach instead of always approaching everything the same way. It helps us think more, it helps us look more, and it helps us be present in what we're doing. Because the one thing that happens to us as hairdressers a lot is we go into automatic pilot, we cut the length, we cut the thing, we do these things, and then later on we're like trying to change it, right? We're like, oh, that's too heavy, or that's too this, or that's too that. Now I got to go in and do all this, right? So instead, it just helps keep you present during the cut so that by the end of the cut, you're done, yeah? Cool. So any questions about Kat? Here's her hairline. Like to take inventory. Goes up nice and high. Zero activity. It's just very, very calm. Everything's calm. She has a little bit of like natural volume in her hair. When you do this and you see some natural something, that just means that something's in there, right? There's maybe a little movement, maybe a little wave, but it's being weighed down. So she's got a little texture in there naturally. Okay, I think that's good. So someone's gonna take her for me and just wet her down. Her hair is clean. You can go with Blair. Blair's right there. Any questions about anything?
So Karina,
Yeah.
it looks like you're starting off with something quite different than what I got to start off with. So how's that going to impact what you want to create? Her starting off with already short bangs, like, sometimes you see that and you feel like, so you may feel a little handcuffed, but it sounds like you got a plan to incorporate those and make something totally fresh and new out of it.
True. Yeah. When I first cut Kat's bangs, there were no bangs there, so that was a little scary, right? Like you cut them, like, I hope that works, because it's like, what happens if her cowlick is like, hell no, I won't go, or something, and you have to kind of deal with that. But I already know that she looks good with these little short bangs. I mean, not that she wouldn't look good. I knew she would look good. I just didn't know if her hair was gonna cooperate or do what I wanted it to do. I am with Kat's hair. Can you guys hear me? Is everything good?
Yeah.
With Kat's hair, the one thing that I feel like I will be contending with is to not make it look stringy bad. Do you know what I mean? Like Crypt Keeper, like bad. I want to make sure that it's, looks like luscious and good, but like.
Well, you're also dealing with the color too that's already there, which could already add to sort of a whimsical appeal.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got to think about that in this instance, which is something that I didn't have to deal with in my haircut.
Right, like
that
the
it was
hair
all
texture.
one color. Yeah, because I don't know how, doesn't color sort of influence how the finished product ends up looking when you're
Right, I
razor
think
cutting?
a lot of those pieces are going to be revealed, which I'm excited about. I think it's going to look cool. And yeah, I think just the hair texture, I got to watch the hair texture. When I think about products to add to my client as I'm hand styling, it's all about balance. So is it looking dry and like it needs moisture? Then I'll add something like a leave-in. Is it let's see, what do I need? I need that, yeah.
This here is a prep lotion, so it's not water, just to let you know.
Yes, so one of the things, Kat's hair does get tangly. So it can, you'll see me probably combing a lot. So the first thing I want to add is something that adds lots of slip. So something that will help me get through that as I'm demoing. Sometimes my thoughts trail off, so if I start to answer and then never finish, please bring me back, because I'm like, wait, was I talking about?
Well, how about for all you guys who, have and do work with the razor, do you guys feel that there's a different approach you take when you're approaching hair that was colored, that was lightened? Do you feel a little more apprehensive about cutting hair that was processed?
With the razor or just period?
No, with the razor. Since it's a razor class, let's stick with that. I mean, just throwing it out there, since this is obviously something to talk about here in this situation.
I do both. I cut in color, so everything that you're already pretty familiar with.
Okay.
What we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you might have to just take a little bit of a lighter-handed approach on those colored sections, right? Sometimes.
Depends on, like sometimes I have had someone whose hair was like noodles, and you tried to pull it, you can't even get tension on it. So then that's probably not going to work. But it's really just about trying it, and then if the ends get pissed off, then switch your technique, or more tension, or like Dante said, lighter tension, which is something that, we don't really think about too much.
Yeah. Great. Well, I'll let you get to it.
All right. So we talked a little bit about approach. I think that's the one thing I love about working with other stylists. Workshop a haircut before you do it with not just yourself. right? So someone else is there to kind of, you say something and Dante was like, what? I'm like, okay, let me get a little more clear. Like, what am I doing, you know? We'll have you guys do that when we get to our hands-on portion of this class, where you guys are going to describe your plan before you get in there and cut the haircut, okay? So we are going to start in the frame with cap. I could cut the length first, right? Since that's going to be a big change. Want me to? I will. I'm gonna want me to. I'm not waiting for you to answer. Actually, that will be fun. Let me see if Dante agrees. Who here agrees? Length first or frame first? Length first. Okay. Dante. He didn't do that to me. I shouldn't do that to him. I was trying to eat a bagel back there. Okay. So you work with Stacy. Yeah. Stacy at Vetiver in Palm Springs.
So we have a question that I'd like to answer here. It's from Jace. And they say, do you find that certain products add too much slip and it's hard to keep your tension? That's a great question, actually.
I haven't come across that product yet, but yeah, if it's too slippery or too grippy, there might be like, you know, definitely it's about what you like. I probably wouldn't go in with an oil to cut with the razor. But yeah, like any kind of leave-in, as long as you don't oversaturate it, just what the hair can handle.
Yeah, I'd like to err on the lighter side and build up the product as I'm doing the haircut, because too much too soon could really set you back, and then you end up having to rinse them out before you style them. You know? So,
right.
Yeah, great question.
Okay, let's get in there. So notice cowlicks, very strong, you see? The movement, cowlicks. The weight was sort of helping those kind of stay down, but because we're going to lighten it up, then they're just going to live free and be able to be who they are in life, which is cool. One spray. That's on purpose. I don't want too much in there. You know, it's one little spray. That's it. Moving on. Okay, so because it parts this way really strongly, I'm going to just kind of cut it like that, okay? I'm going to cut it in its little, we've got like 3 families there, okay? I'm going to cut them in their little families. So I'm just going to picture where I want that to sit. I probably want it to sit right around here. So if you ever have a wave or movement, then you kind of measure it like that. It's like 1/2 inch off. So I'll hold it, squeeze it together, start high, and then just kind of flatten out on my flat of my blade. Kind of come around to the front, and then come around to the back. And then, so see what's left behind? That's kind of my design, okay? And that's the opposite is left behind, okay? And that's just like kind of wanting to get rid of a lot of that bulk and weight and heaviness right away. This piece here, again, I'm just going to slightly over direct to center and do the same thing. So just kind of start above, big strokes sometimes, but on the flat, let the weight of the blade sit on the hair. Go in between your section. Go back, grab those little guys, flat of the blade, flat of the blade.
I'm already getting the Shannon stuff.
Right? Cool.
So one thing, can I point out that there's the flat of the blade being used across the width of the hair. So that is a really great example of like the difference of having, you know, cutting on the edge and cutting perpendicular across the hair, and then cutting with the flat on the flat of the hair.
All right, I'm starting on this side just so I can get closer to her. Again, over directing to the center, squeezing the hair together small, holding it with 2 fingers, placing the flat of the blade on top, and big stroke. Flat of the blade's gonna help me not cut off too much too soon. Really fun. These center guys here, I feel like I can just go a bit shorter there. So just looking at her, elevating. And really looking at where the hair wants to fall and push towards, and not, you know, trying to make it do what I want it to do, but listening to it, letting it do its thing. So this is kind of fun because it's like, it really is like, almost like hedging a little bit, where you just keep going in until you like the shape and you're just being really thoughtful. This side here, you see how this is really strongly kind of pushing over to one side. So I'll grab him. I twisted him a little bit. Straight hair is tricky in that you can try to cut it, and then all of a sudden you got like a whole bob sitting, like a mini bob sitting in the bang, and you're like, damn, that's too much. So that's why I'm trying to be ultra sensitive to like making sure I'm not cutting too much in one spot, you know, some big stroke, you know, just kind of like a little bit at a time. And that's hecka cute, right? Okay, so now when you're thinking about what lives on the face naturally is where I want to create those little cheekbone huggers. I think so, probably right in there. For this, I think I'm going to elevate or over direct it back. Okay, so then I end up with something that falls right in there. Or you could do something where you go forward. This is like so many choices. You can create a point if you want to. You can just loosen up all that weight and it'll just kind of do it on its own. Kind of like how Dante did up here. You know, you can do something like that. And so for me, I think I'm going to just over direct back a bit. Measure where I want it to go, right in there. Elevate. This is sort of flat edge. So I'm coming from behind to create a bit of a point in front. So let's take a look. After you cut, you display. Okay, I got a little hugger. And same over here. Just grab what sits on the face. Listen to the hair. Over direct back a bit. Measure. Right there. Elevate. Flat edge, big stroke. I'm slower than Dante. That's just how I like to do things. Straight off the head, so it's not like up, but it's just, you know. So it's just taking it away from natural fall, which will give it a little bit more softness when it falls, okay? So there's that piece. I can keep on going in little pieces wherever it wants to separate. You see how it's wanting to separate? So that's what I'll do. This piece here, probably just right around the same spot maybe. Thinking about where the weight sits, it's right here, and then this is much finer, you see in there. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of similar. Measure where I'm going, start a little higher. So I have another piece there. Have another piece here. Slightly down, a little further down since I'm on the side of the head, and sort of measuring where I want that to fall, probably have that go to chin, okay? So I'm going to start a little higher in here and go to chin. Elevate. And then this guy here. I think this one I'm just going to take even shorter than that chin guy, okay? So he's going to sit somewhere in here. All right, so measure, elevate, big stroke. So then we have something that's just very, you know, every single piece I did, I just looked where it lived and I cut it where I want it to go. Okay? So that's the frame. Doing the same on this side, but just going to look to see where it goes. Just kind of looking at a bunch of wolf cuts this morning and kind of checking out, like, you know, getting inspired by that and shags and, you know, just kind of playing around. I think that's what's fun about cutting hair nowadays is a lot of things are okay, right? Okay, so this one, again, slightly lower elevation, and I'm going just right around the same spot. Lip, elevate, start high.
You're working towards an end length. Where's your visual guide when you're starting?
Good question. So when I'm thinking about where to start, I'm thinking about having a nice push forward. So if I'm too close to my target length, I'm going to have too much heavy stuff sitting all in one spot. So I try to go further away from my target length when I'm just trying to create a little point. Cool? Okay, here's another separation. It separates all by itself. This one I'm going to go to chin. So when I do this, do you see where it goes in?
That natural break.
Did you guys see that? So when I push it in, wherever that first indentation is, that's where I'm putting my razor in, okay?
That's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Can you say that one more time?
So when I am measuring where I'm going to chin, right? But when I do this, and see how it pushes in right there, right where that hair pushes in, I have my good tension, my nice even tension. Whenever I do that, my eye goes right there and I lift and that's where I push it in. Yes? Okay, cool. And then I'm going to chin, which is where my finger is, okay? So I'll start here and go to where my finger is.
And that is also a good rule of thumb for
They look exactly the same, these bitches.
They do.
This is a tiny bit of leave-in. I'm gonna
That
get,
makes packaging easy.
right? What? What terminology? Steve, the sound guy? Yes, totally. You can call everything bitches, right? Bangs and bitches? Right? We should do a t-shirt that's like all the B words. So now I'm just sort of looking to see what needs anything else. I'm going to come in from the front on that guy. And just kind of be okay with it, you know? I put a lot of thought into that, so I'm going to just let it be. I'm not going to trip. Sometimes you trip on your work, huh? And you're like, wait, I don't know, I'm scared. Okay. Cool.
We get people coming in for wolf cuts. I'm like,
I know. Well, it's just different words and different origins. Different origins. Like the wolf cut is like literally like inspired by a wolf, right? So it's like shorter up here and gets a little longer in the nape. And I feel like a lot of what I see with wolf cuts is there's a little bit longer crown, and shags are a little shorter crown. So, but I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know.
The shag is it's a broad term too. Like there's a lot of versions of a shag, and the wolf cut may be a version of a shag. You know, maybe it lives under that umbrella.
All right, I'm going to start my length now. And I'm just going to get rid of some of this hair that's on top. So, because there's lots of hair here, so I'm just trying to make my life easy. I'll just twist it and get it out of the way. Let me turn. Following head shape around, just above O-bone, working in the nape, which I like to call Nape Town. All right. My razor is pretty sharp, so I think we're just going to stick with this razor here. I haven't changed it yet, but it feels good. So we're going to do, I said I would do length first, and then I forgot, to be honest. So we're going to do it now. We're going to do length now. Yeah, because it's most what I'm getting rid of the most. Okay, so I want to keep some points. So I want to keep this point. So I just, you know, then I make sure that I know that I'm getting rid of that. Her hair is extra dense in here. So I'm going to take out some bulk first. So where should I stand? Here? Feels good? Okay, so where's most of the bulk? Right here. So I'm going to just grab that bulky area. And then just take out a bunch of this bulk, starting nice and high, getting in there and taking out some hair. Look down for me, just a touch. And now you can actually see movement happening in there, right? It's like, ah, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of elevation so my ends are soft, okay? Look straight ahead. So comb it down, but out just a touch. I'm going to get a little bit of softness on those ends without it looking too layered, okay? So I'm going to go to about here. I'm going to start around here. So that's my length. And then be okay with it. Yes? I'm not trying to do Sassoon Bob right now. That's the thing that was hard for me. I started Sassoon and I studied, and it was like 4-hour bobs with a cry in the bathroom afterwards. It was like intense. And sort of like letting go of that like line, because it's like what happens is you start focusing on a line, you're like, damn, that line is amazing. My line is so gorgeous. And then it doesn't even look that good on her, right? You're like, oh, she looks okay. She just looks like that.
Or you blow it out and it's like something totally different. You're like, this wasn't so good.
I feel like my butt's in the way now. All right, ready? So elevating just a touch. I like to play with elevation. That's one of my favorite things in hair cutting. So I start a little short in the center. I have to recomb because I lost my tension. Nice big. Take out bulk on this side. That side seems a little lighter. I need to look at my balance. Okay, just a touch more. Here we go. Does this chair go up? No, huh? This chair doesn't go up? I'm tall today, so it's weird. Just trying to create balance from side to side, okay?
Does it matter which way you angle the blade, whether you're pushing to the right or pushing to the left? When you're taking out bulk.
Like when I went in here?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't focus too much on that. If you're trying to create something that does this, then you could go in this way and then come out this way.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're like trying to like create, you know, something very consistent that way, but it's just really what I'm doing when I take out bulk, it's like my friend taught me this way. It's like taking a car out of the parking lot so another car can park in its space. So you're taking out kind of a big chunk rather than a directional move of like a feature of the haircut. Yes? So it's not just about, it's more about like creating space in here and movement. And look what's happening to this texture. So yeah, like if you wanted to be like, oh, I want it to go the same direction, then you would do something like this. Yeah?
So we have a question.
Yes.
This is from Amber.
Checking my balance really quickly. Looking good.
Looking good.
Yeah.
Do you still use the arrowhead technique to remove bulk?
No, not really. I mean, sometimes
Turn the mic on. Oh.
I felt like I was a little longer on this side.
Okay. Is it on? Yeah. Can we hear? So let me repeat that then. Amber asked, do you still use the arrowhead technique to remove bulk?
Arrowhead techniques are exactly like triangles, what we were talking about earlier. And you can use arrowheads anywhere you want on the head, sometimes over the ear, sometimes under the O-bone, just to like push hair in. And yes, the arrowhead technique, we can talk about that as we go through the haircut. But yeah, this is just sort of like weight removal, period, bulk removal. There's a difference, right? Weight removal is lightening something up so that it's free to move, and bulk removal can be something that makes it smaller. Yeah?
Good answer. I think it's also just a whole different approach and, you know, has its right time and place.
Okay, this section's extra bulky too. So I know that I'm going to take out the crown. So I think I'm going to take out the crown now, okay? So I don't have to end up cutting it twice. Crown to me is really going to be different depending on what you want to do. It could be a wide crown, it could be a narrow crown. It has to be based on head shape. But it's the top of the crown and right above O-bone to the wide points, okay? And this can also be like a triangle, which I think I'm going to do a diamond, okay? So I'm going to go from the back of the bang to the wide point of her head to the O-bone. back of the bang, wide point of the head, O-bone. Cool. There's a class on that later. All right, cool. So I'll just keep finishing my length, elevating so I don't start to get like a heavy perimeter. This doesn't lift up, is that true? No one answered me. No, it doesn't. Oh. Will you stand up for me? That'd be great. I'm just gonna do it with her standing for now. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, cool. Turn around. This is perfect. Oh, so much better. Okay. So to cut this length, this is how I'm gonna do it. So turn around just a bit, keeping it soft, keeping my length perimeter soft. There's my guide. Taking out a little bit of bulk first, and then going in and cutting my length, elevating just a touch for extra movement. Okay. So I'm creating softness in my perimeter by doing all those little things. Okay, come over here. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. All right. That's something we should always test too before we start.
Did you guys not see me?
I was in the back.
I was just like, well, you know, I'll just throw another wrench
Miss Thang
into
over
the...
here. Miss Thang's like, I need another chair. Okay, so there, one side. Gonna do the other side. We could have done that for you, Dante.
Oh, it's all right. I like to challenge myself and all. Put myself in precarious situations.
I already feel challenged enough as it is. Okay. So the next side, I'm just going to, again, comb, elevate. Is that okay? As soon as my guide falls out, that's when I can start cutting. Big stroke, maybe weight removal. And then I'm going to come from the other side and big stroke. So I just don't want to have to go back in and soften it. This is what I'm doing. If it seems pretty straightforward, then cool. But if not, please ask questions. Okay, cool. So here's my other perimeter. So here, I'm going to use this as my guide, okay? So this, I'm not using her little side guides that I just created. I'm using more like her face, okay? So I will start right around lip. This time I'm gonna over direct. Right around lip, okay? Over direct. There's my, I can use any one of these. I can use him, I can use him, right? I'll use him. I'll use that bitch right there. Then I'll use maybe like chin now, so big stroke. Cool. Tilt. Now I think I want a little bit behind the ear as well. So I'm going to elevate and start higher.
coming together.
Yeah. You're like, I hope so. Well, it's just like you said, I hope it looks good when I'm done.
Yeah, coming together now.
This guy here, he needs a little more weight removal, so I'm just gonna hold him up.
So holding it up at high elevation to make it softer.
Yes, and then over directing everything to get that sort of like Lulu vibe that Lulu, my daughter Lulu, she was 3, cut it herself and it looked so cute. So using the lip, starting at lip, over directing, lip. Over directing, look straight ahead for me. Cat, straight ahead, thank you. There's my guide. And then behind the ear, I want a little more, so I'll just kind of let that split. Start right behind the ear. A little opening here as well. So what you're seeing is me just sort of like taking a couple of techniques and then lightening them up and then kind of cheating, no guide, just using her more. She's my guide rather than like finding a guide in the hair. Yeah, so I'm using lip, I'm using ear, I'm using neck, I'm using collarbone and different things like that. Okay, let's see what's going on. That's looking hecka cute, right? Back's looking cute, everything looks cute. All right, now let's go to this guy here. I'm going to start to put a little more leave-in. Is that leave-in? Yes, it is. A little more leave-in. Seems weird to put leave-in in someone who has really fine, soft hair, but her hair actually needs moisture just by seeing how it dries quickly, like all those things. So then I know leave-in's gonna be good.
Hey, Karina, we have a question from Jay. For when you get to the crown, how do you decide whether you cut from the front of the head to the back versus back to front? And
I'm gonna cut center out, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do.
And do you consider the growth direction at the root and whether you want it to pop up for more volume or sit down, flow into the length?
Is that like in here?
It's about the, yes.
So the
Yes,
crown.
in the crown.
The question is,
do you consider the growth direction at the root and whether you want it to pop up for more volume or sit down and flow into the length? I'm assuming he's still talking about the crown.
So remember when her hair was dry and how I got volume naturally by just sort of like doing this? So that that tells me that the hair has some natural volume in it. And this is going to be a little too long to really use the growth too much. It's not going to be all the way short like a shag. It's going to be a little bit longer than that. But the shortest bits are going to be in the center. So I'm not really thinking about the direction of growth in the crown when I'm cutting this. Maybe after it falls, that might make me do a couple of different things, but I'll have to see how the hair reacts before I make that decision. Yeah.
And while you're working on that, so the difference, to maybe elaborate on Jace's question a little bit more, the difference of cutting your layers from the front to the back as opposed to coming in from the back to the front in a traditional long layering sense. I think coming from the front to the back, it creates more lightness, more layering on the surface, whereas coming from the back to the front may create a little bit more of a heavier layer. That again goes back to what I said before about going like the natural progression of the razor being shorter to longer.
I like this length, I think. When I put it down, it's like a little shorter than her actual length. Should I go shorter? I'm over directing everything to the center of my section. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is take out bulk. Kind of everywhere in there. And then I'm going to use a big stroke. Cool. And now I'm going to go the opposite way.
This creates a little bit of an hourglass effect, would you say?
Yeah. So here, I'm going to be using my guide from here, okay? Go straight out from the head. Look down for me, a little more. Okay, so see how I bend my knees to get in there? I'm short too, so you guys gotta really do some stuff to get in there. Okay, so I took out a lot of like weight softly in there, and then I'm gonna start big strokes. Okay. Hopefully that looks good.
Yeah.
Yes.
What if somebody had a deep side part? Would you cut the hair? Would you over direct to the left or to the right more, or would you still go with that center?
Yeah, so you can start here, and then when the hair starts to dry and it's like, I live over here, you know, I'm not going to change the way that I do things, then you can start to adjust it and customize it. Like this could be sort of like the stock thing that you do, and then your customization comes with like, where is it falling, where is it living, as it's drying. I'm making sure to like really look and see like what the reality of this haircut is, rather than trying to like, you know, over style it, and then she goes home, she's like, I don't do any of this. You know, how's my hair supposed to like look good? So I always like to do sort of like that reality style where it's just like, you know, comb everything, check it, make sure there aren't any, kind of how Dante did with his like scissor at the end, where he's just like looking to see what it really looks like.
So that you would still approach the haircut the same way, but you would just finish it a little differently? Like
yeah, like if it was side part, it was like going to the side and it was looking funny, I'd go in there and fix it. So how would I do that? I would just grab the problem, elevate it, and just take bulk out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that way it fell better. About balance, right? Always trying to think about balance as well, so it's not just like maybe the heaviness that could be happening. Because I'm not sure exactly what you mean, like what's happening when it goes to the side. Does it look good or does it look off? Does it look heavy? What's the problem? Elevate it, look for, is there a corner there that needs to be softened? Or is it just way shorter than one side? So then I'll shorten the other side a little bit. So it's just about like constantly thinking about balance, where your weight sits. With the razor, it's really easy to take care of weight before it happens. It's all about your stroke and like anticipating the weight, right? Like I know that there's gonna be weight there, so right now I'm gonna like take care of it while it's wet. Does that make sense? I hope I'm answering questions well. This guy here, I'm just gonna go a little bit more into it. There we go. So I feel like it's moving pretty well. It's got some good stuff going on. As it's drying, I'm checking to see, oh, I think I didn't take weight out of here. So I'm gonna take weight out of this guy. It's looking nice and wolfy. Those little bangs on top are like, I live for them. I wanna move in there. I'm just gonna hang out in your bangs the rest of my life. See, when I'm moving, I'm looking for problem areas. If I see something that looks a little like, why? Look at it. There's like the reason. You see it? Just a bit of a corner there. So I'll go here for balance sake, here, and here. And it just takes it away, you see? So if you see something, say something. Grab it, you know, like it's, I think one of the things I'm working with someone who was a Sassoon for years and years and years, and right now I'm like, don't use the comb, use your hand. So get your hand in there and find the pieces that are like bothering you or sticking out because there's something there. That's why your eye keeps going to it. So to release from like scissor cutting into razor cutting, when I say release, I mean like let go of a lot of those like, you know what I mean? Yes. So you got to let go of that because at the end you can come back and make sure that all that's doing good, but out here, not in here. So I went somewhere and I was like, can you just cut off like the razor ends? And they went in and cut every single hole out of my haircut. And I was like, because I have so much hair and it's like, I have to put holes in my haircut so that it looks good. And so like just kind of breaking out of those, like everything has to be so, you know, like those guys, they got to go. So now I'm going to do the scissor thing. This is something I do as well. Oh, I don't have my scissors. Blair's little, like, your little movement to go get my scissors is like a cartoon when they take off. They're like, okay, so now I'm going to check my work, okay? Because I don't have scissors, I'm just going to go in with these guys. And like do way more work. But just kind of clean those ones off. Thank you. So see, I can be like all Sassoon-y on just 3 strands. And it's like, and it's back. The shape's back.
The
I mean,
face frame's great.
it's hecka cute, right? Look at all those flippy cookies. Okay, so I'm going to put a little surf. I'm going to put a little gel. I'm going to mix the gel with this bitch. Serum, gel, and serum. So the first thing in hand styling is applying. I'm not styling at this point. I'm just getting stuff on her hair. Palms, you got to use palms a lot. Palms are good. Trying to go for this sort of wet look. Sorry, not in your eyeball, I didn't mean that. Okay, and then also I got to check to see, like, this is a great way to check to see if you missed anything. Thinning shears just to kind of balance those ends out. Did you see how I had a chunky one and a skinny one? Now they're both skinny. Okay, so did I put anything in the bangs? Let me just do a tiny bit of gel. I like the mixture. Why? Because one of them is alcohol-y and the other one is like soft and shiny and not crunchy. It's so it get a good balance of the two products. You know, not too crunchy and not too soft and slippery. I get a little bit of hold in there. Go away, one hair. What are the chances that I'll get it? So look up a lot. Shake it out.
tons and tons of movement. That's a very interesting product combo.
Now I'm putting whatever's left in my hands in her bangs. There's not much. Okay, I'm going into your lunch now. Let's bring our other model out.
Sure, yeah, come on up. So Liliana just sat under a little like warm dryer, what do they call them, roller balls or something, just to mimic the air dry that she would have gotten. But what you can really see with that is, now it's just really showing off what we weren't seeing before with all the layers. You can see that kind of that curve and kick that's happening with the layers through the back, through the sides here. Complete like connection and transition. A lot of pop on the top. And some of my favorite is, what's happening all around the face. And just a little bit more to, now you can see that line. I mean, that's what, I was aiming to create with this, and the shape that we were looking for, and the softness that we were looking to get out of it. And it couldn't have been possible without the razor, so, and without Liliana. So thank you for being part of this.
All right, so let's take this off. Can we show the before picture of a video of Kat? What I like about all these pieces is some are flipping. One of the things I learned in styling in my years of training is asymmetry is so good. Little bit, like just a little bit of asymmetry. Everything being so perfect is sometimes like, not interesting. Yeah? Okay. Want to stand up and show everyone the back?
Totally suitable.
Works for Kat.
She's a cat. She's a wolf.
Yes. All right.
She's a wolf cat.
Yes. Yeah, it's really cute.
Thank you so much.
It's really fun. Oh my gosh, you're welcome.
Work is so much lighter.
Oh my God, it's so much lighter.
Yeah.
We'll play with it in a little bit and we'll get some photos. So guys, thank you for watching and participating today. Thank you guys over there. And we're going into lunch and hands-on workshop now. But let us know if you have any questions by sending them in, and hope to see you guys next time.